everybody. I want to start by telling you a little story, and then I'm going to discuss a very interesting volcano, a super volcano, called Yellowstone. I lived in Montana for a very long time. One night, I think it was in 2018, there was an earthquake. I was just sitting in the bathroom. Actually, I was standing there kind of looking out. There's a bathroom window we had. And I felt this tremendous feeling of doom. Sometimes when people are having a heart attack, they have a sense of impending doom. I didn't know what it was, but I knew something disastrous was about to happen. I was looking out the window going, what? I could feel it. Boom, 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 boom. Like, what is going on? And about 3 seconds later, I started to feel an earthquake in Butte, Montana, right? It's not the Ring of Fire. But I am well versed in Yellowstone and how close I live to Yellowstone. Being Montana is right north of Wyoming and is in the zone of impending death if you live there. And I had Alicia and my son with me at the time. And the earthquake in the bathroom, right? I'm looking out the window going, what? And it was moving like strange. I lived in Seattle, and we had like a 6.7 earthquake in like, what was it, 2000 or something? And the ground was moving like this, and it was fun. I was watching the cars roll around, and to me it was fun. I was outside, there was nothing going to fall on me. But this earthquake was different. It was strange to me. When it was done, it was moving like this, kind of like a circular left and right. And when it was done, it kind of went, It felt like I had rotated counterclockwise, and it stopped. So I checked on my family. I went on the computer to say, did we just have an earthquake? And while I was checking it, I got that feeling again. That, oh my God, something's about to happen. And then it was like a 4.3 on the Richter scale. The first one was like a 5 point something, 7, I would think. I'll tell you something. Before I share the footage from the internet with you, this is not to scare anybody. If you see a curve ahead sign on the road, you go, oh no. No, you're okay, so slow down. And the same thing with Yellowstone. Respect is the word, not fear. Now I will tell you, I won't play enough of the video for it to talk about what a lot of geologists and scientists say. They say that there's not enough molten material yet, combined with the rock. It's like part molten, part solid, part semi-solid. That there's not enough rock to have a caldera forming eruption. A caldera forming eruption is where it basically goes full send. You get some warning, but it can just go straight, just boom. It's about 45, yes, I said 45 to 40, or 35 to 40 miles across. That's the tip of the volcano. It's so big you can only see it from the air. Like usually a volcano is like this, and the top of it's like maybe a mile, 2, 3, 4 miles across. There's a lot of stuff in there. But I did an experiment one time where I froze a bottle of, not Perrier, but like a knockoff of Perrier. I froze it till it was solid. You know that there's a lot of pressure in there. So with all that pressure You know, like the cap, right? The cap on the bottle sometimes is bulged because of all the gases that are trapped in there, the carbon dioxide. But I put it in the freezer for a couple days, so it was solid. And me being, an experimenter, wanting to see what would happen, I'm thinking, well, what will happen if I just open the lid? Well, what happened was all the ice fractured and came out with liquid somehow. Somehow the release of gas was so forceful that it was all solid, but it quickly liquefied. And as a chemist who studied organic chemistry, I know that if you start to release pressure from liquid and solid with gas combined, or gas with liquid combined, if you start to release pressure, it'll cause the gas to want to release more, so that there's even more pressure. But if you release it extremely slow, you can release it. So obviously, when you take the cap bottle off of your carbonated beverage, it goes woof. Yeah. There's a lot that they don't tell you. Maybe it's because it's kind of a new science, geology, they don't know much, and also because they don't want to scare you. People get scared.
But beneath this primal beauty simmers a hidden threat. 5 miles below the waterfalls and mountain peaks lies the heart of a supervolcano, a constantly moving cauldron of molten rock the size of Mount Everest. Over countless millions of years, it fills with lava to the breaking point. Like a bomb with a hidden timer, it finally explodes.
We don't know how long it's going to just sit there before it decides to go off.
If sometime in the future it were to erupt, as it has before, the Yellowstone volcano would overwhelm everything within 100 miles and disrupt lives across the globe for years. The first sign of trouble will be increasing seismic activity. The ground would rise as pressure from the molten rock begins to grow.
There would be a lot of ground deformation, and then if it was moving up slowly enough, we would actually start seeing large changes in the geyser basins.
Finally, the lava would shatter the Earth's surface with an explosion 10 times larger than Mount St. Helens. A hurricane of hot gases would spread out in all directions as the ash cloud reaches 80,000 feet into the air. Already larger than anything man has experienced, this would be just the beginning of a Yellowstone super eruption. Within days, a second enormous eruption would begin, then another. Soon, a ring of monstrous explosions 50 miles wide would be spewing molten rock and burning gases across the landscape.
Certainly within 100 miles of Yellowstone, there wouldn't be much that was not destroyed.
High in the atmosphere, the ash cloud would surround the planet, sending temperatures plunging. Global agriculture would fall into chaos.
There you have it. Okay. I don't want to keep playing the video because it's long. It's like 40 minutes. Maybe I'll remember to put a link in the description. But what happens is when Yellowstone goes into a caldera forming eruption, going full send, it sends so much ash into the atmosphere that it goes, it gets carried by the trade winds. So it goes eastward and southerly. And so obviously Wyoming's gone. But South Dakota, North Dakota, Colorado, all the way through Texas and Oklahoma. Yeah, they found dinosaurs that from previous eruptions before it was Yellowstone, when it was like I forget what it used to be called, but they had it just keeps going and going and moving and moving. When Yellowstone goes, it moves more and more northeast when it goes up. But they found dinosaur bones that had been overwhelmed by ash way down south. And what happened is they were breathing the ash, and it caused like a syndrome where your bones start to produce growths from breathing the ash. So it's really bad. Just be educated, because if it does go off in our lifetime, you're gonna want to be educated about it. That's all. Have a fire extinguisher in your house. Carry a spare tire in your vehicle. And I'll tell you something. This volcano goes off about every 400,000 years or so. 600,000 years. So it's close. It could go anytime, and it's variable. There's no way to know.
It's only the last of 3 monstrous calderas formed over the past 2 million years.
The volcanic history of Yellowstone is really marked by these 3 giant cataclysmic eruptions of the scale that we haven't seen in history of man, really.
The first eruption vented somewhere around 600 cubic miles of material. And if you took all of that and you spread it out over the state of Texas, you'd have about 12 feet thick of deposits.
The second eruption was hundreds of times larger than Mount St. Helens, and it's the smallest of the Yellowstone supereruptions. The most recent one, known as the Lava Creek eruption, occurred 640,000 years ago.
That's about how often it goes off. Every 640,000 years. Every 700,000 years. I think I did an average once, and it was, about a little less than every 700,000 years. Here's the thing. Listen. Steamboat geyser. It used to not go off very often. And I'm going to show you on Wikipedia how many times it has gone off, and now it's going off more often. That's a sign of a release of pressure. It's obviously over time the magma keeps rising, and the water wants to escape as gas. And so Steamboat Geyser was dormant, and I knew this because I'm a chemist, and I know that it's just going to keep going off because it's releasing pressure, like I explained. And I will show you that. I just have to show you some more details on this video. Yeah, Steamboat Geyser is going off more and more violently. Very beautiful. If you ever get a chance, you have to go visit Yellowstone National Park. If you're jaded and aren't really impressed by stuff, this will still impress you. And I'll tell you what, living in near it, I didn't really go there very often. I mean, I never went to Yellowstone. I just drove past it. I think I'm afraid of it. I've heard people say they, when they had to work at the observatory, they just were nauseated all the time from the earthquakes, the mild earthquakes. I don't know.
Suddenly burst through the cracks in the Earth's surface, shooting into the air. Hundreds of geysers were erupting over 500 square miles.
We get explosions out of the hydrothermal system that put holes in the ground as big as a mile across. So they're big events.
But this was just the overture before the main event. After days of increasing earthquake and geyser activity,
Talking about when it starts to unzip. When it wants to have a caldera forming eruption, like a kind of an oval, it'll start in one little area, and all this pressure will come out, and then another will come out, until it just comes all the way around, and all the lava kind of comes out around the end, and just spews out as ash. And after it's empty, and there's so much in there that, hey, look, I've seen the Gallatin Mountains, where before there's like the mountains, and in between it, because it collapsed in the past. It's very beautiful and interesting. But what happened is when all the and also, by the way, all the ash was like 30, 40 feet high in Montana. So I assume that the states surrounding it, like Colorado, probably have similar features. There's no house that can withstand it. Okay, look. This house is extremely solid. It's reinforced concrete, real thick, because it's a cabin, and I don't want it to break. And in the ceiling, I have it's the same, and I have fiberglass. But how's it going to hold 30 feet of ash? I don't live close enough to Yellowstone for it to give us much ash. But even if you're in Mexico, it's going to change the climate. And I think some ash will come all the way through Mexico, and maybe even into the countries south of Mexico a little bit. Kind of be nice to, when I'm in Mexico, it's kind of be nice to have snow. I guess it's kind of a, what you call the twisted humor there, but yeah, you're not going to be able to grow food in a greenhouse or otherwise. It's too cold. You have to come up with an extreme plan. If you do live within the larger area, you know, not around like maybe Texas or something. If you live down there, or Arizona, where it might just be really cold for about 10, 20 years until all the I guess sulfur trioxide or sulfur dioxide kind of settles out, and then the sun can penetrate better. Until then, you're going to have greenhouses to grow food.
Under
And I gotta say, there are ways to prep for this besides moving far away. I wanted to visit other countries besides the, Canada, Europe, United States. And I thought about going to Argentina because I knew that way down south it would have very little effect if Yellowstone ever went off. But Mexico is going to be really cold if and when it goes off. Pretty cold. Probably have to have a greenhouse here too to grow food. Food that is not tolerant to cold. You can grow in cold climates potatoes, stuff like that, wheat.
They had started to leak out of one side, perhaps forming part of the edge of the fracture zone. As you start to decrease the pressure, it starts to then explode.
With the power of a hydrogen bomb, a monstrous cloud of searing ash and melted rock.
So he agreed with me. Once you release the pressure, more pressure is released, because this guy's a geologist and they have to study chemistry. This is just a lesson on Yellowstone and what a lot of people on other YouTube channels don't tell you, because they don't know that much. They haven't been educated enough. And I understand chemistry, and I obviously studied biology and psychology and psychiatry, all those things. But I've also, not in college, but in my free time, geology is interesting. You just can't. It's our Earth. It's interesting. But now I want to show you, or tell you at least, the how Steamboat Geyser is. And by the way, this video was Yellowstone Super Volcano on YouTube. Maybe you go watch it. It's about 44 minutes and 59 seconds long. So, I'm gonna, basically, you probably can't see this. I'm rustic. I could probably figure out how to, but you just have to trust what I'm reading. Eruptions from 1990 to 2018. I'll just count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 13. 13 eruptions from 1990 to 2018. Not much. A lot of people thought that it would cool down in the cycle, like Steamboat Geyser would just kind of, but I knew better. Once you release pressure, it keeps releasing. Active phase from 2018 to 2019. 1 year. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, this is so many. 1, 2, 3. 17. 34 eruptions in 1 year. Oh. And on August 27, 2019, there was a record eruption of Steamboat Geyser, which is a water geyser, 403 feet in height. Let's see how about this is. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 17, 34. Gosh, like over 40 eruptions in 2019. About that many in 2020. And in 2021, I guess there was less. So, what happens with Yellowstone is it breathes. It lets out, it expands in height and decreases. Expands in height and decreases. But over time, it just keeps getting higher and higher and higher. The lake around it, was it Earthquake Lake? I'm sorry if I'm getting these things wrong. Yellowstone Lake. There was a while where it started to move and trees would die because one end of it was raising up in the air. So what should you do about this? If you live anywhere in the U.S. and Canada, right? Should you move? Oh, well, I would say, yeah, I mean, come on, man. If you live really close to it, then you won't survive if it goes off, but, you know, it could be another 100,000 years till it goes off, but it could be today. So with any hazard, like a dynamite where the fuse is going down and down and down, but in slow motion in this case, like the logical thing would be to move out of the zone of it. If you live close to it, at least you won't suffer. The scary part is a lot of people would say, well, we're just going to die anyway. I know a couple of people that live in the earthquake zone, the Ring of Fire, you know, Washington, Oregon, and they say, well, when the big one hits, no one's going to survive anyway. I'm not going to survive, so why even do anything? But here's a caveat. What if all the services are cut off and you survive? You haven't prepared, then that's just horrible. Come on. You should at least learn how to prepare. Because I'll tell you what, it is possible for people to prepare in the clutch. But your stress level is going to be so high, you're going to fail a lot. I started prepping, and I came up here and we built this cabin. But it was a steep learning curve, and it made a lot of errors. Things that someone, you know, I am educated. Someone like me shouldn't have made those mistakes with my trees. I should have known that with the kind of temperatures we have here, it's hot, but it's not hot enough to kill fungus. It hardly ever gets above 90. So like 97 degrees or more, it can kill fungus. So it's like a perfect place for fungus. So fungus, pure fungus. So you want to prepare for things like this. If you want to prepare for a possible Yellowstone disaster, what I would do is have a greenhouse and live far enough away that the ash deposits won't crush your house. And have a bunker if you can. Yeah, I said have a bunker if you can, really. Don't be shocked by that. In the 60s and 70s and even the 50s, people built bunkers all the time for a possible nuclear attack. And by the way, if you live too close to it, you're going to have to shovel out. I mean, we'll go into that some other day. On my next video, I want to do a little 4x4 in my truck. It's going to be a truck talk because we need to talk about things besides, you know, what could make you want to be a prepper, but when you are a prepper, what can you do and what you should do. My closest neighbor is about a quarter of a mile away, and I want to converse with him and say what will happen in an emergency. A big one, like, you know, I could have your number, but what if that doesn't work? So we're going to talk, and it's going to be a challenge because my neighbor happens to be Mexican and he doesn't speak much English. So I'm going to try to understand him and he'll understand me. And in that video, we're going to have what you call a truck talk. I'm going to be 4x4 and we're going to have a talk. Me and my viewers, heart to heart, and it's going to be fun. And you'll see what it's like driving on these roads around here. They're not paved, they're nice. I like it because it keeps a lot of people from driving right up to your property. They're scared of it. I mean, unless you have a truck that's lifted half the time, you can't make it. If you don't have a 4x4, you're not going to make it. Front wheel drive. So it's nice and secluded. We don't get a lot of people driving in here unless they're prepared for it. So it's really been enjoyable having you viewers with me. It's nice to have you viewers because you're not. A lot of you viewers I've talked to and I know, and I'm glad to have you because you're not like the rest of the viewers. You're smarter than regular people and you can think outside the box. So it's a pleasure to have you and to talk with you. So I'll leave you in the grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. And we'll see you very soon.